For this Photoshop tutorial, I'll be showing you how to take these images. We've got a shot of a ballerina and a shot of a flying falcon, and how to cut pieces from the falcon image and place them onto your ballerina photo and make it look pretty realistic. The files you'll need for this tutorial, if you want to use them, are ballerina and then the falcon. So let's go to Photoshop. Instead of creating new, we're going to use our ballerina photo as our base. So let's click Open and choose the ballerina JPEG. And we have our ballerina here. To zoom in and out on this image, you can use Command plus or minus. You can hold your Alt key and scroll with your mouse, or Control plus or minus on PC. Next, let's open up our falcon image. So we'll go File, Open. Choose the falcon, and the section we're going to use is this wing over here on the left side. And this image is good because you can see that the wing is contrasted from the background. This is going to make selecting the wing a lot easier. To easily select this wing, we're going to use something called the Quick Selection tool. You can use this by pressing W or click over here on the toolbar to select it. And you'll notice that I have a little circle with a plus sign in the middle. This is what I'm going to use to select this wing. Just click and drag across, and Photoshop will automatically intelligently select what it thinks you're wanting to click on. That looks pretty good. I'm going to bring over a little bit of the falcon's body. That's totally fine to have that there. You'll notice down here we've missed a little bit. So I'm going to zoom up using my Command plus and minus or Control plus and minus on PC. And click there to select that. We've missed a little bit over here. And we've got a little bit on the top of the wing here. Choose that. I'll zoom out. So that looks pretty good so far. If at any point you'd like to remove some of the selection, you can hold your Alt key and you'll notice that the center of the circle turns from a plus to a minus. If you hold the Alt, now you will be minusing when you click and draw. So you can erase some of the falcon's body. I'm going to bring a little bit back in, probably about there. We just want a little bit of an overhang. So we have our selection here. So now if we push copy, instead of copying the whole falcon image, Photoshop will only copy what's within our selection. So I'll go Edit, Copy, and now that's copied onto our virtual clipboard. Let's go back to our ballerina photo and click Edit, Paste. And you see we have our falcon wing there. You also notice that we have two layers. We have our background, which is our ballerina, and we have our wing now, which is now layer 1. Let's change the name of this layer by double-clicking on layer 1. And I'll type in wing. Now let's move the wing up a little bit higher. Let's go to our Move tool on the top here in the Tools. And we can move our wing. If you're not able to move your wing, that might be because you've selected the wrong layer. So make sure you're on the wing layer. Now let's zoom up and see how this looks. So you can see here that the Quick Selection tool did a pretty good job of selecting just the wing and isolating it from the green background. There's barely any green there. There's a little bit here on the top. So if your file has copied a little bit of some extra color that you don't want, let's erase a little bit of that. So we'll go to the Eraser tool, which is over here on the tool stack. And you'll see that my eraser is a little bit too big. The way to change that is to go up to the top left here and change your size. And I'll take my size down to maybe even smaller than that. Let's go down to about 20. So we have a smaller eraser, and I'll just gently erase that little bit of green off of the wing. Okay, that looks much better. So let's zoom out. Now I think I'd like this wing to be just a little bit bigger. To change the size of an element on one of your layers, an easy way to do that is to go Edit, Free Transform. You'll see we get this bounding box around our element. And these little individual squares are little handles that you can use to change the size. If I want to make this wing a lot bigger, I go to one of the corners and then hold Shift. Holding Shift means when I slide my mouse, it will expand the wing to make it bigger, but keep all the proportions the same. If I don't hold Shift, you'll notice that the wing stretches and squashes and doesn't look right. So make sure to hold Shift as you stretch it. Let's make the wing about this big. If you want to check and see how the wing is looking, you can move your mouse into the center of the bounding box and you'll notice that your mouse changes to this arrowhead. This means you can move it in your image. So I could make my wing a little bit bigger as well. How about that big? And you'll see that I have a bit of room here on the left side. At this moment, you could also rotate. If you move your mouse out to one of the corners and past one of the little handles, you'll notice that your mouse turns into a curved double arrow. At any point, you can click and drag and change the rotation. So let's give it a little bit of a lift there. About there looks good. I'll adjust it up. That looks nice. When you're happy with your changes, you can hit the tick, and then we have our changes. If at any point you're doing free transform and you're not happy with your changes, you can hit the circle with the line through it and it will cancel any changes you make. Okay, our wing looks really good. One thing that I don't like is that it's over the top of the ballerina's shoulder. So there's a way that I'm going to show you how to cover that up, quick and easy. First, let's go down to the layers and let's hide the wing layer by hitting the little eye icon. This turns the layer on and off. This way you can work with other layers and then return this layer to being visible. So we'll turn that off. And now let's select our ballerina layer. Click once on background, and we're going to zoom up. If I turn my wing on and off, you'll see where it joins with the ballerina's shoulder here. This is the area we'd like to focus on. Basically, we're going to cut this part of the ballerina's torso and make it another layer to put over the wing. So let's use the Lasso Tool. Over here on the tool stacker, if you click and hold on the lasso, you'll notice that we get multiple options. These are different ways to use the Lasso Tool. The first one is freeform. The second one uses lots of straight lines to make a polygonal sort of shape with the lasso. And the third one is magnetic. We'll use the first one for now. I click and hold with my mouse, and then just follow the outline of the ballerina. Follow down to the arm. And then I can do a big wide arc out to the side here. This part doesn't have to be detailed because our wing is only coming off of this left side. There's no need for this to be detailed on the right. So I have my selection there and I take a look at it and it looks like it follows the back of the ballerina nicely. So with that selection made, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the ballerina layer, but only copy this amount. And a quick way to do that is to go to Layer, New, Layer via Copy. This shortcut is Command-J on Apple or Control-J on PC. You'll notice our selection disappears, but what's happened over here is we now have a third layer, and this layer is the selection that we've copied. If I turn off the background layer, you can see that our selection has copied this part of the ballerina. We're going to use this to hide the wing. Let's turn on the wing again, and you'll see that it's still above the ballerina's shoulder. So I'm going to name this layer Shoulder. And I recommend naming your layers as you're working in Photoshop. It helps you keep track of all of your layers. I need to put this shoulder layer above the wing layer. So to do that, I click and hold on the shoulder layer, and then I'm free to press up and wait till I see that blue highlight line above the wing layer, and then release my mouse. And you'll see now that the shoulder is above the wing. If I turn this shoulder layer on and off, you can see the work we've done has covered up the back of the wing. So now let's do some fine adjustments. I'll zoom out. I'm going to select the wing again and use my Move tool. The wing about there. And you'll notice that we have this little bit of area down the bottom. Let's erase that using the eraser. My eraser is a bit too small, so I'll go up to my size. Let's make it about 120. Now I'm able to erase that, and that looks good. Let's have a look at our image. The wing looks proportionate, the angle is nice, and I like the placement, and the shoulder is covering up the back of the wing. So the only thing left to do is to change the color of the wing. It's in color, but the ballerina photo is black and white. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the whole image to be black and white. So an easy way to do that is to come down to our layer stack and click this button, which is your layer adjustments. This will apply a new layer that will affect everything that's underneath it. Let's go with black and white. And you'll notice that we have a black and white adjustment layer here. I'd like to move this to be above all of my layers. So just like moving the shoulder layer, click and hold on that adjustment layer, move it to the top and release your mouse. And you'll notice here that our wing is now black and white. Just like other layers, you can turn an adjustment layer on and off, and you can see the difference, how it makes the wing black and white or color. This black and white adjustment layer automatically has these sliders to affect every color. Feel free to experiment with these sliders to change different parts of the wing. If I zoom up, if I use these sliders, you can see that I'm affecting different elements of the wing shading to change how strong the black and white effect is. I'm really happy with this, so let's save our image. File, Save As. We're going to select Photoshop File, just in case I want to come back to this file and make some changes. Make sure that Layers is ticked, and I'm going to call this Ballerina Wing Edit, and hit Save. And now let's save this as a JPEG. Go File, Export, Export As. We have our image here. We want to choose the format of JPEG. It's currently set to PNG. Let's go down and select JPEG. And you can see that we have our approximate file size over here. Our JPEG is going to be 8.9 megabytes. That's probably too big. You can look down the bottom and see that we have 16.67%. This means that our image, this is 16% of its actual size. I'm going to zoom up to 100%. And you'll see that our image is really big. We don't really need our image to be that big. So I'm going to zoom out to a percent that I think looks good. 25% looks to be about the size that I'd like. 25%, I will go over to Scale over here and change 100 to be 25 and hit my return key. Now you can see that our image is smaller. It's currently set at 25%, so let's zoom up to be 100%. 100% view, this is the size of our image. I really like that. And you can see over here, we're at about 496 kilobytes. We can change the quality down a little bit. Let's change it from 100% to 70%. We barely noticed any change, and now our file size went down from 496 kilobytes to 183. So this image is going to be nice and small, yet it still looks really nice. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's hit Export All. And I'm going to call this Ballerina Wing Final. And click Save. You can see that our original Photoshop file is still very high resolution, and we were able to save this and also save a JPEG that is smaller size. So let's hide Photoshop. I'll find my saved JPEG. Here's my final image. We have the ballerina and the wing, and that looks really well done. So this is a tutorial that you can use to isolate different objects from other photos and try adding them to other base background images, and using cutting out, you can isolate certain sections of your subject to apply different stacking with your layers to hide imperfections or joins between your image elements.